Come on, you Spurs!
Comes back to me, so I just go like that if I... Well, first of all, I'll tell you what, why don't I just sort of give you guys a bit of a chance just to say a few words just before we get going on the Q&A. Just a couple of words and then we'll get going into it. Is that right?
First of all, I'd just like to say thanks for everyone for coming today. You know, as Paul said before, I've done quite a few of these now, and you know, it always amazes me the reception that not just myself but the team gets wherever we go across the world. So we really appreciate that. Thank you for coming today. Yeah, answer any questions you want within the boundaries, and I'll try my best to answer them the best I can. So thanks.
I'll leave it to Ledley to answer all the questions. I'll man a few words. But I actually live here in Orlando, have done for the last 5 years, and it seems that everywhere I go there's a huge Spurs fan base, and it's very nice to see you all both here today, and I look forward to hearing the questions that you have to ask us, and answer them as honestly as I can, unless I can't.
All right, thanks. Well, Danny, I don't know if you know, but your appearance was a bit of a surprise. So some of the questions, feel free now that you know Danny's here. If you've got any questions, put them on the list. Get it up here to Ryan in the corner here. Any questions as we keep going? If you hear a question that springs another question, get it up here. We'll get it asked, and we'll continue there. So I think we'll get going, guys. And we'll start off with John King. Is John King here? Yeah, there's John King, UK season ticket holder, all the way from UK. Question, Ledley. Where are you from, John?
Ireland.
Ireland?
I live in Kent.
Kent. McNamara's band. Well, I hope we're going to continue that on, for it's a great song for the team to come out with up the McNamara's. All right, John King, question. Obviously, I think for Ledley, but we can also apply it to Danny as well, John. What is your best memory of a game at White Hart Lane?
Is it King or King? King. King. We're related, yeah? Yeah, no, I've been lucky and fortunate enough to have so many great memories at White Hart Lane. I remember beating Chelsea 5-1. Semi-final, I think it was 2001. I remember the first time I beat Arsenal was when Danny Rose scored that wonder goal. So, but I also remember beating Arsenal 5-1. And that was probably the sweetest moment I had at White Hart Lane. Beating them 5-1, an evening game under the floodlights was just a spectacular game. So I think that one would be my most memorable game at White Hart Lane.
I got to experience something that most people don't, and that is to play a cup final on your home ground. So I was a member of the UEFA Cup winning side of 1984. We played the first leg away against Anderlecht, came away with a 1-1 draw, and then had a second leg on our home patch at White Hart Lane. And the atmosphere that night was as usual, electric whenever it was a European night. And as most of you will know, I had a penalty saved. I didn't miss it. But thankfully, things ended up the way I would have liked them, and we had a really, really special night that night. So that was my abiding memory of White Hart Lane.
I think on that way to that final, was that when you come up, was Johan Cruyff not playing for one of the teams at the time in '84, Danny? And I saw a picture when I was sort of doing some research, when I knew I was one of the few that knew you were coming here, and I saw a picture with you and Johan Cruyff, but you had the ball, not him. Which was mighty impressive.
That was probably the only time.
All right, next question. It's from Megan from Minnesota. Megan, yeah. What was it like to walk out on the pitch one last time at White Hart Lane at the finale for Ledley?
It was really touching, actually. You know, I didn't think it was going to be as emotional as it was. You know, the last time I walked out before that was for my testimonial. That was my last time on the pitch. But to come out, you know, for the very last time with some of my ex-teammates, some of the legends that played a while in, you know, before me, seeing how much it meant to the fans, you know, it's just a special day. You know, it was kind of fitting that we had Man United, you know, the team, especially during my time, my era, that was the dominant team in the Premier League. And we was able to play them at the last game and beat them. Shows how much we've improved over the years. And you know, I remember seeing a picture of a rainbow. It was amazing. You know, I couldn't see it at the time, but I saw the pictures after, and you know, it was just everything about the day was a special day, and you know, I'll never forget that memory. But the great thing is that, you know, although we're leaving White Hart Lane, we're not going anywhere. We're still in the same patch, and I think that's important for everyone. So, although we are leaving, we're not leaving, if you know what I mean. So I think that's important for all the fans out there. They'll still be making that same travel arrangements to get to the new stadium, and I think that was important for everyone involved.
Danny Craig from Merritt Island.
I don't really do too much, so it's fine at the moment. It's fine walking around, but anytime I try to get excited and play a little bit, then it reminds me why I retired. So I'll leave it as that for now.
Did you find it hard getting into the car today?
Yeah, that was fine.
Well, just on that question, I think we should ask Danny as well. How was your knee as well? Because I think it was a knee injury for you as well. So how's the knee? How's everyone these days on that front?
You know, it's a strange thing, really. I had a really serious knee injury, but I walk around a lot better than all the players that I played with, who played for about 20 years when I played for about 6. So they're in a much worse state than I am. My knee only bends to just about 90 degrees. Outside of that, I can do pretty much everything. I've never had a day's pain with it after I came out of the hospital after a couple of weeks. So I think I thank my lucky stars that that's the case. It doesn't limit me in any way. I do most of the things that I want to do. It stopped me from becoming a cycle champion, but apart from that, I'm not too bad at all.
But just a follow-on question, I don't know really if there's much for you to respond to, Ledley, but Madeline from Sarasota?
Yeah, I loved Martin, yo. I don't remember playing wing backs under him. I think we normally played in a back four. But it's right in saying that I believe that he was the one who kind of took us from that mid-table club to a team that was trying to compete to get into the top 4. I think we finished 5th twice under him. So I think he played a vital part in our kind of surge to where we are now. But you know, Martin was a great character. He was big and strong, as we know. He had a big, deep voice, and you know, used to make the players laugh with his own little stories. You know, he used to say that how he wants players to be lions. He used to tell stories about himself back home in Holland, and you know how no one would ever mess with him because how tough he was. And, you know, everything we wanted, there was toughness out of his players. So you know, he played an important part in making us have that mentality, into believing that we could, you know, be a team that could win things, or a team that could get into the top four. So you know, I think the club owes a lot to him, because under him, it was, you know, as I said before, it was. Well, before him, times were quite difficult, especially in our league positions. But under him, we managed to really climb up the league and become a strong side, bringing some good players. And you know, it's great to the position we're in now. I believe that, you know, you have to start somewhere, and I believe that started under Martin. Harry took it on to a new level. Pochettino's took it on to a whole new level. So you know, Martin will always have a special place in my heart. And I think for the fans as well, I think the fans loved him, you know, especially the job that he did and the circumstances with him leaving. You know, under the job that he did was a little bit, well, a lot of people thought it was a little bit tough at the time, but you know, I think it proved to be the right decision because Harry then took it on, and now Pochettino's took it on. So you know, I think we're a club that's always trying to improve. You know, the decisions we make are for the best of the club. And that's what we've always tried to do, so I think that's worked out well for us.
And of course, Martin Yole's Blue My Army was heard for years, right? A tremendous job. Just Danny, on that same question, who was the managers when you were at the club? Was it just one? Was it just two? And any thoughts on that time? Was there any transition of managers? And just when you're in that dressing room and you're about to take the field, how much does the manager mean? What he says before the game, what he said during the week? Do you play for the manager? You obviously play for yourself, you play for the fans, you play for whatever. But when you were there at the club, how much did the manager mean, you know, the times that you worked under managers at Tottenham?
Relationships with managers sometimes can be a bit fractious. I had a great relationship with Keith Birkinshaw, who was the manager that brought me there in the first place. Unfortunately, he was only there for 1 year, and then Peter Shreve took over, who was the assistant to Keith Birkinshaw. And I have to say, it just wasn't my kind of person, and I didn't really gel with him too well. Then the third manager that I had during my time was David Pleat, and he was the strangest person I'd ever met in my life. But as a coach, he was top notch. He really was a really wonderful coach. And we had a really exciting team when he was there. It was too short a time. You all know what happened to him. But the football that was played during that time, I think, was some of the best that they've seen in that stadium for quite some time.
Thank you. A lot of you guys won't know this, but a lot of the commentary for the games over the years here in North America, David Pleat has been like the co-commentator, and he really is very biased towards Tottenham, so we actually love him for that. Yeah? So, yeah, strange as he is, and whatever he's done in the past. All right, we'll lighten it up a bit. Question from Katrina Perriman from Dunfermline. The Glasgow Spurs are here. You're going to see the flags here over the weekend. Glasgow Spurs. And I guess this one's for Ledley. Is it Malbec, of course, from Argentina, and that's to stretch between 6 people?
To be honest, I wouldn't have a clue. I mean, you know, I think Ozzy's someone that probably wants a bit too much to drink, so I'm not surprised that he's complaining about it. But I think to be fair, Ozzy calls everyone tired, so I wouldn't believe it. But no, obviously, I've not sat down with the manager like that. But what I will say is he's, you know, he's a fantastic manager, and if he's tight, I'll let him off anyway. So.
Well, just to follow on for that, there's a question. Colin, is Colin here from New Jersey? Yeah, Colin, just to follow on from that. Question is, literally, quite simply, is Pochettino really that good?
Well, again, I've not played under Pochettino, so I can only speak from an outside view. I've seen the work that the team put in, even on pre-season, the hard work that they put in. We all know how fit the team are. They're probably the fittest team in the league, and that's down to the manager. His hard work on the pitch, his preparation. He seems to have an ability to get the best out of all the players that he works with. He's done that at Southampton, and he's done that now at Tottenham. We've seen every player play at their highest levels, and that's down to the manager. He's someone who can put an arm around players when they need it, and he seems like he can be tough when he needs to be. He's obviously Argentinian, so we know they're not soft people by nature. So, but I think he's got the right balance, and seems to be working wonders. Obviously, I haven't worked under him, but I've seen the team training and how hard they work and the respect they have for him. So I'm really delighted that he's at the club, and as I said before, we're in a great position at the moment. We're a team over the last 2 years that have been the most consistent team in the league. Lost the least games, and it's really exciting times. Obviously, the new stadium. I really believe that we're going to win the league very soon. It's only a matter of time. We've got a young squad, a great manager, everything's in place. So it's a great time to be a Spurs fan.
Well, we'll stay on the topic of the manager. There's a lot of questions coming in about the manager, and it's interesting because sometimes, arguably, the best asset or some of the strongest assets you've got are not necessarily the players. You've got a manager, you've got a management style, you've got a sponsor, you've got the whole setup, and it's really coming. We all know this. It's coming with the new stadium. But we'll stay on the manager side. I don't know who asked this, but if you would sort of shout if you asked this question. Somebody wanted to say who is the best manager you played for, and obviously the best striker. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Essex.
Whereabouts?
Basildon, but I live in Orlando now.
All right, Basildon boy. Yep. All right. So he said, who is the best manager you played for, and also the best striker you played with? But I'm gonna add to that. Who is the best striker you played against? Obviously, a couple of defenders here. Is that all right? Just to say, who is the best you played with, and also who is the one that gave you the most hassle on that back line? So that's a great question for both Danny and Ledley.
Okay, the best manager I think would be Birkinshaw. He took over at Spurs after they'd been going through a fairly rough time. They'd had the great Bill Nicholson years, and they had a few lean years after that until Keith Birkinshaw took over, and he took Tottenham back to the very top. And they had a wonderful team when they won the FA Cup twice in the early 80s. Strikers. Well, I played with Clive Allen when he scored 49 goals in one season, and he had the knack of being in the right place at the right time. He didn't do another stitch of work all day, but who cares when he can put 49 goals in the set? And he had wonderful awareness, 2 great feet. He even scored with his head. I mean, he wasn't exactly renowned for that. So I think he was sadly didn't get as many England caps as he should have got, because I thought that somebody that could score goals on a regular basis like he could deserve a lot more.
Danny, just before you hand it back, why was Birkinshaw the best in your opinion? What was it about him? Why was he the best?
Well, he was a mixture of the two. He was a coach, and a coach.
Did you the most trouble on the wing there? Who was
everybody got the strangest thing, the best winger I ever played against was John Robertson. John Robertson, for a couple of years at Nottingham Forest, was the best player in the what was the Football League then, CLO down. But the strange thing is that the people that give you the most trouble are people that aren't really renowned. And there was a player from Norwich called Steve Goble, never forget him. And he had this strange style, and he used to disappear all the time. He used to run from my side of the pitch across to the other side, and then before I knew it, he was inside me and he caused me all kinds of trouble. So it's the players that aren't really renowned that tend to give you the most trouble. And I think sometimes you can let your guard down a little bit when you're playing somebody that's not renowned. But if you're playing against John Robertson, you make sure you go to bed early.
It's always been a difficult question for me to answer on who's the best manager. I've obviously had quite a few. George Graham was my first manager. Then we had Glenn Hoddle. And I probably have to say Glenn was probably my favourite. He was a very forward-thinking manager. Played with him as a player, great player, but very forward-thinking manager as well. We actually played a back. We played a back three then. Played with wing backs, which a lot of teams are doing now. We was one of the only teams to do it back then at the time. I loved it. I was a young centre half who loved to try and bring the ball out. So to be one of the centre backs that had a bit of freedom to come out was great for me. Glenn just had a vision. He had a certain way that he saw football being played. I'm sure you guys probably hear him on TV at times and how intelligent he is. And for me, he was probably the manager that I learnt the most out of. Learned the most from. I really enjoyed my time under Harry as well. Harry, for me, that was our best team that we had under Harry. Players like obviously Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, Van der Vaart. I really enjoyed playing in that team. An exciting team with pace, Lennon on the wing. And obviously finishing in the top four for the first time, or finishing in qualifying for the Champions League for the first time, it was great under Harry. But if I had to say the best manager, I'd probably say Glenn. In terms of players, I've always said Thierry Henry was the best striker I ever played against. It's unfortunate that.
As being an Irish person, I don't think so.
For me, I always thought that the toughest strikers to play against were players that never really played up against you. They roamed around, and therefore you can't come out of position and follow them. So Thierry was one of them players that used to drift out to the left a lot, and as a centre half, I had to lead. I had to let him go out there, and once he got a head of steam, coming inside, shooting, he could shoot from distance. He could, run past you once he had a head of steam. So that always made him the most difficult. When you look at players now, you look at Messi, you look at Gareth Bale, players like that, they're difficult players to tie down. They're never in one position, and that's what makes them so difficult. That's what makes them the best. In terms of the hardest player, it's difficult. As Danny said, it's not always the so-called best player. I know that Kevin Davis was someone at Bolton who was always difficult, always physical. Every time the ball come up to you, you was either fouling him or he was fouling you. That's how he made every ball was a fight with him. He was normally fouling, to be honest. He was not normally fouling. But that's he kind of got you into that physical battle and made it difficult for you. So as I say, as Danny said, it's not always the best player. Playing against Thierry, I think I played 10 or 11 times against him. He scored 2 goals. So although he was the best, I always felt that I played well against him as well. So, but yeah, with someone like Kevin Davis, regardless of whether he scored or he didn't score, you knew you was in for you knew you was in a battle with him. He'd make you work for every ball that comes your way. So.
That's very, very interesting, because what you're saying is when you play against Kevin Davis, 90% of your game is marking him. But when you've got like Thierry Henry, it's really the whole back four that's marking him. And that's what we saw when we watched you from the stands. When you play against Thierry Henry, it's all about communication. You were passing him on, and we could see you we could see you telling he's gone, and that was very interesting. That the toughest, even though you were meant to be up against him, you wasn't really up against him because the whole back four was. So you got different opportunities. Then the next Saturday you're up against Kevin Davis, and you got the whole man to yourself.
Also, I think I like to try and take responsibility. So when he did drift down to the left, he knew that he was in someone else's responsibility, which made it difficult because, without knocking whoever it was out there, you're asking, can they do the same job to contain him? So that was always a problem. You drift down the left, and it cause havoc there, and whether he's setting up a goal or scoring a goal. So I'd rather actually have the best player or the best striker in my facility where I feel responsible for him, and I'm able to try and do my job on him rather than relying on someone else. But that's when you need good players and a good team, and everyone working together, communicating together to stop players. And I always say when someone's a top player, very difficult to stop them. Very difficult. You can play a great game for 89 minutes of a game, and top players can have that one bit of magic that can change a game. So and he was capable of that. So that's why these players are the top players, and what sets them out.
Did you feel accountable for what they were doing out on the right, or was it their responsibility so you got it wrong?
I think as part of a team, you have to allow players to, as a centre half, I can't go out to the left and tell the left back or the right back, you come inside while I'm going to deal with Thierry, because we have our positions for a certain reason. I wouldn't be very good out on the left, to be honest, or the right. Yeah, but you can tell them. But this, as a centre half, most centre halves are not great out on the wings anyway. That's the position that you don't really feel that comfortable being in. So you have your players in that position for a certain reason. Players like Danny, who are short, quicker, mobile. So you trust your teammates. You have to trust your teammates, and that's what being part of a team is. You win together, you lose together. And as I said, when you're playing against good players week in, week out, which you are, then you're always going to get your way. The players are going to get taken on, they're going to get beat. It's up to the next person to step up and try and fill in and help them out. And that's what being a team's about.
Nice. Just following on is we got Chris Cowlin from is it St Helens? Is Chris in the house?
Here.
Yeah, St Helens.
Chelmsford.
Chelmsford. Oh yeah, I worked in Chelmsford and Basildon. Is Basildon Chelmsford? Oh, we've got an Essex contingency here. But Danny, you also asked the same sort of question about who was your toughest opponent and why. So we doubled up that question right there. Just to follow on Johan Cruyff. Colin Bowman, who is the main guy here from Orlando, I think you met him when you come over from the press conference. He's not here tonight, and he did have a question, and it was obviously, believe it or not, it was what was it like to play against Cruyff, and so that's obviously for Danny, unless you played against Johan Cruyff. Now we've got technical there, but you can understand that you have two defenders of top notch here. We're very interested in that the questions are very much defensive, and we'll go back to that later. But I think we're going to lighten it up a bit. This is for both of you. What's the funniest changing room incident you've ever seen? I'll just give you a couple of minutes to process that, alright? Clearly there's been more than one. And you can either name names or you can remain anonymous if you want to, alright? No. So Danny's first because he must look at.
It's a difficult one. I've seen. I think what we're seeing.
In showers.
Nothing funny happens in the shower. I've seen some weird things in the change. I've seen someone do a poo and put it in someone's locker. interviews. But I think I'm sure it was right at the end of the season as well. So it stayed till the next season.
What year was it? Don't have to name names.
I know who it was.
Who was it?
I will say, there was a trick that I'm sure it happens in every change room up and down the country where people put like a Ralgex or something in someone's pants, so it's like a really hot. What would you call it? DP, yeah, like a DP, yeah. So I remember that happening to Paul Robinson once, and I think it was Robbie had actually done it. Robbie was normally Robbie King. Good old Robbie. Normally but I have to say, not in the change room, but I always say there's a story when Martin Yole was the manager, and he was quite a new manager at the time. I think we'd signed Andy Reid, another Irish guy, and obviously this is Robbie again, but Robbie was good friends with Andy Reid, and I remember Robbie taking Andy Reid's phone and texting Martin Yole from it, saying that you've got a lovely peachy bum. And he was on the coach at the time, and I just remember Martin Yole looking back. He was cracking up laughing.
Well, I think you probably have to go back to the Gascoigne era for change room antics. I think you'd probably come back and you would have your socks, which had a huge hole in the front because he'd cut the whole thing out. He would tie knots in your shoes so you couldn't possibly undo them. Every antic you could think of, he would do. You'd have no underpants, you'd have no underwear, you'd have no shirt, you'd have nothing in this changing room when he was around. He was a real character. I don't recall too many myself, but on one occasion I recall being away on tour. We were in Australia, and at the time Clive Allen had a goal celebration where he would sprint forward and down on his knees and slide. So in tribute to him, we went to see a Paul Young concert, and in tribute to Clive Allen, he came out onto the stage and did the same thing and went straight off the end. And he must have been about 10 foot out, straight into the ground. So, but generally speaking, the changing room is not one for too many antics. It's a serious place of work. When you win, it's a great place. When you don't, it's a very somber place. The changing room for training is very different. That's when the antics come out. But I think it's best we keep some of those to ourselves, really.
But just to follow on from that, without naming situations or whatever, over your career at Tottenham and even in England or even beyond that, but obviously concentrating on Tottenham, who were some of the characters that sort of made it when you went in training every day? There's obviously some guys that are very professional as always, and there's who were some of the guys that just made it lighthearted? There's, who was the fun guys? That instantly spring to mind, who were happy faces, smiling all the time, keeping that team gelling together.
To be honest, I'm not a morning person, so when people was all buzzing, I wasn't happy when they was buzzing around, all excited every morning. Robbie used to come in really happy, well, I wouldn't say happy, but really bubbly every single morning. He was a character. Jonathan Woodgate was a character. Sandro. He was a good character. He could hardly speak English, but he was a character. Everyone knew. He spoke in other. He spoke in other ways. He made people laugh. He integrated himself into the team by being a joker. He was, everyone in the team loved him all the time. So yeah, there's been a few characters. I'm trying to think who else. Ben Thatcher, when I was younger. Teddy was a good character to have, right? Ginola was a great character as well. So yeah, no, there's been plenty, you know, and it's funny because in the changing room, there's, especially in the morning when you come in, some people are not morning people, and some people are full of energy and full of beans, and you know, it's funny actually seeing the contrast, the contrast in there. So you know, I think over a period of time, everyone gets to kind of know everyone's characters and respects that. You know, it's a great place to be, and it's something that I do miss. You know, now that I'm retired, I'm sure. You know, when people ask me what do I miss most, it's the thing I miss most is probably the playing side of things, the competition, but also the change room. The change room is only second for me because a lot of the time I spend on my own, training on my own. So I miss that change room banter. I used to come in at different times when I was training on my own, so I missed that kind of change room banter for the last 5 years of my career. So you know, that's why I kind of put the playing side, the competition side ahead of it. But you know, there's no doubt that during my time that I had so many great memories with my teammates in the changing rooms, coming in every day, sharing the emotions with them. So you know, it's something I definitely miss.
Thank you. All right, so I've got, where is Diane Morris from Frederick, Maryland? You have got the greatest handwriting I've ever seen in my life. If everybody could I'm gonna ask the question then, but this is a piece of art. I don't know what job you have, but that is an amazing. Okay, anyway, the question is, what's the most fun thing you've done since arriving in Orlando? Which is interesting because you've been here for years, and Ledley's been here on a couple of occasions over the years, so it doesn't have to be this time. But on any trips to Orlando or Florida, what's the most fun thing you've done to both of you? And there's the handwriting. Look at that. That is beautiful.
Beautiful handwriting. Beautiful. The last time I was there for hours. I didn't even spend the night here, so you know, I didn't get up to too much. I have to say today was really enjoyable.
Was your press conference your first time in Orlando?
Yeah, well, actually, I did come to Orlando when I was about 15, but nothing exciting happened there either. So I was playing football. So yeah, playing football. But yeah, we won a couple of tournaments when we was there. We won the final 19-0, I think it was. I think the football hadn't quite taken off over there. It was quite a while.
I just have a wonderful time. For those of you that live here, you'll know it's a great place to live. One, meeting up with these folk from Spurs who have made me welcome today has been a real great day for me. I haven't seen or been a part of the Spurs for a long period of time. I get to see them from afar, hear what's going on from afar, but actually meeting up with some of the staff today and having a real good in-depth chat to them has been a really wonderful day for me. And so they may not think so, but it's been special for me. Now, going back to what Ledley has just said, I had the opportunity to be a passenger, thankfully, in a car which was a safety car for Formula One. So a friend of mine had one here in Orlando. So he took me in this car, and when he got to 175, he said, I think I better slow down now. And my abiding memory of that is, I was stuck to the seat and couldn't move, and I was wondering how he was able to drive at speed like that and control the car, because I couldn't move at all. 175, another 5 miles per hour, and that's a mile every 20 seconds. You know, you think about it. If you're on the road, you could look in your mirror and there's nothing behind you, so you could pull out and a car could be on you in that amount of time. So that was a fantastic experience. And when I was back in the UK, we helped out with a charity event, and we got the opportunity to go in a jet with the RAF. We helped them out.
Nice. Well, it's nice to know, Danny, that this is a special night for you as it is for us. This is a dream come true for Tottenham to come here to Florida. It really is, and we're really excited for today, tomorrow, Saturday. We're super excited. I think we should have a bit of a sing song for Danny. I mean, there was this song, I don't know if anybody remembers it, I'm sure we do. There was this time, and it was one of the best nights at White Hart Lane. You talked about it earlier, 1984, and there was a song, White Hart Lane erupted. Everybody remembers the song. There's only one Danny Thomas. Can you remember that? One Danny Thomas.
There's only one Danny Thomas. One Danny Thomas. There's only one Danny Thomas. One Danny Thomas. There's only one Danny Thomas.
Wow, thanks guys. We do remember that. And there's a question from Martin. Is it Martin Pete? I apologise. It's Martin Pete that's originally from Chingford. Is he here? Martin's saying, it's again for you, Danny, that night. Were you always planned to be the last penalty taker for that game, or was it more off the cuff?
It was completely off the cuff. We had our 5 penalty takers. The 5th one was Mike Hazard. Mike Hazard couldn't have walked from the centre spot to the penalty spot. He was cramped up so badly. So we had a choice. Somebody could volunteer, or somebody will be selected. So I volunteered. And we've got 4, all I have to do is put the thing in the back of the net, obviously. We've already scored 4 great goals. But the strangest thing is, your mind doesn't function so well when you're really tired. But apparently the goalkeeper has dived to the left on the first 4 penalties. For my penalty, he actually dived to the right and happened to dive the right way and saved it. But it wasn't something that I appreciated at the time. If I had the chance again, I wouldn't volunteer.
Yeah, so I was wondering that. What happened to Mick Hazard? What was the story there? If he was 5th, what happened?
Well, he was selected by our manager as one of the 5 penalty takers. And what I'm saying is, no, it's you. Anybody goes up. So, oh really? I'm a lot older than you, Ledley. You didn't have to do that then.
Maybe I'm wrong. You have to say the 5.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but you can still change it as you go.
It shows it doesn't actually happen that often, you know, when you get in penalty situations. And
in the Confederation Cup,
yeah.
Portugal knocked out. Now you can change those things in roster. That's a joke. When they missed the first 2, you got the option to move up from 5 to 30. You chose not to. So you can change.
Yeah, but I don't know. You can maybe you can change the order, but not the players in the first 5. I'm not sure. I wasn't a penalty taker. I was number 7 or 8. It never came around to me, so that was
I can tell you what football manager says.
It is the strangest thing is, it's something that you should be able to do literally 10 times out of 10. You do it every single day, strike a ball 12 yards, should be the easiest thing in the world. But your knees are shaking, and your heart rate's going.
All right. Well, this is my question. probably the best time to ask it. This is my question's for Danny. Danny, you were such a prolific goal scorer for Tottenham Hotspur. I wish you can you just tell us about all the goals you scored for Tottenham?
If you score too many goals, they're not special. So you have to make it a special one. So my one goal. When I scored it, I was about 20 yards out, but as the years have gone by, I've gone further and further. So it's about 35 yards out now, in the driving rain. You know, I spotted the keeper was on the far side of the goal and let loose. But
I've been watching the TV looking for our goal. But coming up, strangely enough. But I think, yeah, as I said, like Danny, I didn't score too many myself, but I scored a couple against Arsenal. I'd probably say that the first one I scored was a header that, well, they were both headers actually, but the first one was probably my favourite goal. Put us 1-0 up, you know, so I just remember the emotion of the game and to score in that game was massive for me. The best goal I probably scored was against Man City. It was from about 20 yards with my left foot. And obviously the Bradford one is probably the most memorable just because of it's a record in the Premier League, the quickest goal in the Premier League. It wasn't a very good goal. I'd rather people not look at it and not, just know that it's a record, but don't watch the goal. It took a massive deflection. Should have been an own goal, to be honest. But yeah, it was just under 10 seconds, which is still a record. And I think it's obviously going to be very difficult to beat. You know, back then we took centre and pumped the ball forward. I was playing in midfield that day. The ball dropped down to me. I shot. It took a deflection, went in. You know, now teams are all about possession. You know, they go back. They keep the ball. They go backwards. So you know, before they even get past the halfway line, 10 seconds is gone. So hopefully my record still lasts for a few more years. Yeah.
Well, we're going to have about another 5 or 10 minutes, and you can see there's loads of questions. We could go on forever. We're going to have another 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're going to move on to the time where you can have some autographs, photographs, that kind of thing. Question from Ellen. Is Ellen here? From Ireland, I guess. Okay. Ellen is saying, again, we had a song for Danny. We might have a song for Ledley. I bet you can't guess what one it is. But before we sing it, the question is, Ledley, how do you feel when the fans still sing your name, you know, months, years after after you know you last played at Ledley? That song is, what is it?
Oh, Ledley, Ledley, he's only got one knee. He's better than John Terry. Oh, Ledley, Ledley.
Thank you. Yeah, no, listen, it's obviously great whenever I hear the fans sing it. You know, I think it's difficult now because I think when you play it and you're on the pitch and you hear it, it just gives you that little extra yard, don't it? You know, when you're playing and you hear it. Now, you know, I can't do anything about it. I'm going to just sit there. So you know, it's quite tough. You know, when people sing it, I don't go rip, but yeah, no. I mean, when I was on the pitch and they used to sing it, it gives you that little extra yard, that little, you know, to play that little bit harder for the fans. But you know, it's great that they still sing it now, and you know, I really appreciate it.
So, the US is manufacture PR crazy, and this is a question from Carter Woodward. Is Carter Woodward here? Where are you from, mate? Okay, all right. So from Carter, Carter's asking, what has been your favourite Spurs kit over the years, either while playing or overall? What are your thoughts on the current kit with the throwback badge? Yeah, just out of interest, as a player, you know, you had your favourite, the one that looks bad, you think, wow, that, you see the new kit. How do you feel when you go to these things to reveal the new kit? Over the years, what ones have thought, wow, I feel really good in this one?
I think players have always taken a keen interest in the design of the new kits. You know, I remember during my time when I was playing, and you know, it's normally just before the end of the season we'll get a chance to see our next season's kit, and there'll generally be a few 3 or 4 players that will get to try it on and take some pictures, and you know, everyone else, the other teammates would always be interested in the kit. How was it? How did it feel? You know, most players like their kit to be fitted nowadays. You know, to feel good on. You know, I've had some not so nice kits over there. I played in a lot of different kits. I remember I think the Puma one was probably one of my least favourites. Just the material of it. It was like paper. It was kind of like paper. Kind of, it had no give, which was quite tough. It used to stick to you a little bit. But you know, obviously had some really nice ones as well. I think when I first kind of was coming through, it was with Adidas, and it was the Holston kit and all that. You know, you see David Ginola and people like that in it. I used to quite like that kit. Thank you. And I remember we had the 125 years kit, which was a beautiful kit. You know, really standout kit. What else? There's been so many. You see, I've been there for a long time, so I remember which one? The black one. I like the black one. The black and gold one. I like that one. The brown one, I wasn't a fan of the brown one, but then it grew on me. It grew on me. Too similar to things.
For Ledley, I don't know who asked this question, but it was to do with the centre-back pairing. Did anybody ask that question about your name?
It's Ed.
From
Margate, but I live here now.
Okay. And Ed's asking for Ledley, how do you rate the current pairing of Toby and Jan compared to when you and Jonathan? Any similarities? Can you see? You know, I guess how do you rate it? How do you see it?
Myself and Jonathan didn't play together much because one of us was injured all the time. So. The first time we played together was the final against Chelsea, the Carling Cup final. First time we ever played together, and we just understood each other straight away. You know, I think we were both of an age that we knew each other's game, or we knew the position and what you know, how to play. Funny enough, that whole back four was the first time we had Chimbonda played left back. We had Hutton right back. So it was quite a new kind of makeshift. I call it makeshift back four, but one that had never played together before, and we played really well on the day. But in terms of Woody, such a shame again with injuries. He was right up there with any of the best that I played with as a centre half, and it's impossible to kind of compare because, as I say, we wasn't fit as a partnership to play. This current crop is they're there every week playing. They've been able to build up a great rapport with each other. They know each other's games inside out. I think they're two of the best around at the moment. I've said before, I don't think it's difficult to find weaknesses in them. They're just well-rounded defenders. You don't see them diving in, sliding around. You don't have to do that to be a top defender. Positional play, reading of the game, making the game look easy. And that's what they both do. They both do it. They're both very similar, and they complement each other. One's left foot, one's right foot. It just seems to work, and it's a great balance. So I think they're two of the best, not just in the Premier League, but around Europe at the moment.
Who's your best partner?
My best partner, I think that myself and Woody could have been the best partnership, but I have to say that myself and Michael Dawson played the most games together, and I really enjoyed playing with Dawson. He's a great character. The fans loved him, fans' favourite. Left everything on the pitch. used to do my dirty work, I used to say. You know, he was the one throwing himself around and you know, breaking his nose and stuff, and I was just cleaning up the pieces around him. So, you know, I owe a lot to Bruce.
What was your favorite tackle and on who?
Oh, my favourite tackle?
And on who?
Robert.
And on who? Yeah, I think so. I think you've seen Robin. Have you seen the tackle on Robin? Go on YouTube. Have a look at it. I was fast. That one was fast. Yeah, no, I think that's kind of the standout tackle I've done. I think it was probably in 2003, 4. Playing against Chelsea, and the ball's gone over the top, and we've all tried to play offside on the halfway line, and Robin's got in, and they've probably got 10 yards, 15 yards on me, and I just run back as hard as I could, and he took his time shooting, and I was able to put a tackle in, but it's difficult to explain. It's difficult to kind of try and explain it. But
Rather a throw around the corner.
yeah, I mean, I didn't think about it at the time. I don't think, funny enough, they did score from the corner, but and it was Ledley who never ever scored a goal in the game. So it was just meant to be. I think it was just meant to score. So it was I wasted my time. But as a defender, I was always taught, you know, to run back as hard as possible, because I knew that the ball was in the air, and while the ball had to come down, I thought to myself, if I can make up as much ground on him, then you never know, maybe he takes a bad touch.
Anything spring to mind, Danny? Any play, any specific thing, tackle?
No, there's too many to mention. But I suppose when you're 5'6" and you're playing against people that are 6'2", etc., no front teeth, and getting involved with these kind of people like a Joe Jordan of this world was I think when you go for a tackle with someone like that, then you know you've been in a tackle. And
Legendary.